am going to hopefully briefly explain The Outsider's final project to you. I figured if I do it this way, then you can come back and re-listen to my explanation if you get stuck or something like that while you're working. So The Outsider's final project is fairly simple. The idea is that you need to pick one character from the book. It can be any character. It can be a member of the Greasers. It can be a member of the Socs. It can be a girl. It can be a boy. I don't care. But you need to pick the character that you feel that you can relate to closest in terms of their identity. You really need to think about your personality. You need to think about how you behave when you're with your social group and kind of compare that to the behaviors of the characters in the book and the things that they value and that kind of thing. So pick a character. So the project will then be two parts. You are going to provide a compare-contrast between you and the character, where you are going to talk about the ways that you are similar, and then also the ways that you are different, because you're not going to have anybody that you're exactly the similar to. And then you are also going to provide a timeline of what the character goes through in the book that kind of builds their identity, and what you have gone through in your life that has built your identity. Okay, so let's first talk about the compare-contrast part of the project, which is explained here in this part of the document. This is a document that you can find shared to you in Google Drive. If you don't see it, make sure you come tell me so I can make sure that gets shared to you. So for the compare-contrast portion of the project, again, you have picked one character that you feel you are closest to in terms of your identity. For a compare-contrast, it's what it is. You're going to compare the two of you. You're going to explain how you are alike and how you are similar. For each of those comparisons, I want you to use one piece of quoted evidence from the book. And you would use that to prove that that's the way the character is. So for example, if you say, well, I'm a total goofball and I am a class clown and so is Two-Bit, well, find a quote from the book that explains how Two-Bit is a class clown or a goofball. So make sure your quotes are helping you prove that that character is actually what you're telling me. Remember to focus on identity. So you're not talking like you're both boys or you're both girls or you both have brown hair. Remember, identity is inside you. It's what makes you you. So an example on this document you can see right here is that, if the character is a dreamer, that's something deep inside. If somebody's a dreamer, that's a deep personality trait. So you might say something like, the character is a dreamer and so am I. And again, do not focus on physical characteristics. We both have brown hair. For your compare-contrast, you need 6 to 8 strong comparisons or differences. So maybe you're going to explain to me 5 ways that you are very similar, and maybe 2 ways that you think that you are different. And all of those should sort of be explained. And that might just be 2 or 3 sentences, and that would include the quote. So 6 to 8 total. That's not 6 to 8 differences and 6 to 8 comparisons. That's in total. Obviously, you're going to want more comparisons than differences because this is the person that you have picked to be most similar to. Okay, so compare-contrast. You're picking a character you are most like. You are going to explain to me the ways that you are the same, the ways that you are different in terms of identity. And with each one of those, you are going to include a quote from the book that proves what you are saying. Okay? Okay, so then the second piece is a timeline. And this is still about the same character. So it says, you are also going to create a timeline that shows how both you and the character have grown throughout your lives in terms of identity. So you're not just plotting simple plot events. You're not saying, last Monday night I went to a basketball game. I want you to think about the things in your life that have formed you as a person. And they might not be huge things. Maybe you moved to a new house. Or maybe, you joined volleyball for the first time. All those things, just focus on identity, okay? So it says your timeline is not a timeline of simple events. You are plotting you and your character's growth in terms of identity. Think about maturity, that kind of thing. Only pick events that actually changed you mentally and the character mentally. And you can even do mistakes. Think about times that you messed up in your life. Think about accomplishments, things that you've won, things that you've overcome. For each event on the timeline, explain how that event impacted your identity. And it might not be just a big thing. It might be, well, it made me more confident, something like that. Your timeline has to have 14 events total. And about half and half will be for you and half will be for the character. And if you want to divide those, like maybe put you on the top part of the line, the character on the bottom half of the line. But I just want to see from birth to now, and same with the character, from the beginning of the book until the end, what are things that happened to them that kind of changed them and formed them as a person? And same with you. What are some things that happened to you that you lived through that have changed you into the person that you are today? There do not need to be any quotes on the timeline. It just needs to be the events explained and how they impacted you and the character. And it is also a good idea to include some pictures on the timeline, just simple symbols to represent each event. Okay? Let's really quickly talk about how you present this. Again, it's sort of up to you. However, I do have a couple things that are not as successful. I think we've fallen into a really bad habit of Google Drive, especially Google Presentation and just plain Google Documents. I'm not saying Google Drive cannot be used, it certainly can, but I don't want you just trying to throw this information into a Google Doc, and I don't want you just trying to throw it into a Google Presentation. It's really hard to make that look neat and professional, and I would like you to think a little bit more creatively. And that same goes for Keynote and Pages, so that's type of format. I would be happy for you to use your computer, but please make sure that if you're going to use your computer, you just come run it by me first. Explain to me what you're going to do, and then maybe we can bounce some ideas off of each other so that, you know, we're on the same page. I would hate for you to put a bunch of time into something and then not have it pan out in the end. One really great way to do this, and it's kind of old school, I've had some outstanding posters made in the past. Sort of top half is compare contrast, bottom half is timeline that look really amazing. Obviously, you don't have to go that route. There's probably about a million possibilities. But whenever you figure out in your head kind of what you're seeing, just come run it by me and I can go, oh yeah, that sounds really great. Or I might be able to give you a couple suggestions on how you might tweak it to make it a little bit better. So again, both pieces are required. You need to do the compare contrast with the 6 to 8 comparisons and differences with a quote explained, and you need to do the timeline of both your life and the character's life and how the events of your life have impacted your identity. 7 for you, 7 for the character, and include some pictures in that. It doesn't need to be for every event. You will see the rubric at the bottom of this document, and that's kind of the basics. So let me know if you have any questions, and that's it.